San Francisco extreme work culture. I'm sure you've seen these stories. I don't know if you read this one. But there's a lot of stories like this. And just want to let you know, I did that. That's I wasted that. And it always got me in trouble. Just wanted to let you know. Working too much. Yeah. So if you do work a lot, make sure you're doing it for yourself. Because eventually they're going to toss you aside like an old rag. Just so you know. And it won't be long. It won't be long before you're on the side. Anyway, speaking of that, so the story, I don't know if you remember, the stories going back, I guess, the 80s, 90s, I don't know. This was back when, outsourcing and, the Americans, couldn't compete. So the jobs were outsourced and typically to like India, and the last few employees, of a large company, would be training their replacements, as it's shutting down. And there were a lot of stories like that. I don't know if you remember those stories. So now, here we are today. And I don't know if you think it's funny, but of course, these people here are doing the same thing, of course, because they're building their replacements in AI. And I don't know if you find that funny like I do. And anyway, so there's other stories here. So this is SFUSD. I don't know if you saw the previous video I did on SFUSD. Anyway, a week ago they had another meeting, and it had things had totally changed from the meeting I reported on, and everybody spoke 100% for ethnic studies. In the meeting a week ago, it was the opposite, almost 100% against. And it was the students that showed up, and because if you read this article, it just goes through a list of their reasons. Here, almost all of them are listed here, and that's it was not. They showed up. Hopefully, they realized they had no chance at all, 0.00% chance of success. Anyway, so this did come out yesterday, and yes, they're not gonna. Yeah, they're gonna continue on. So basically, it's 2 semesters of mandatory ethnic studies. That'll be fun, huh? But also at the meeting, they didn't mention this in the article, but the second half of the board meeting a week ago was about Dragon's Gate. I don't know if you're familiar with that. So basically it's a proposal for another charter school for basically 200 students in Chinese immersion education in the city. That would add to about the 1,300 that are already there, so about 1,500 total. And what they basically said was, China's better, better, bigger country, it's the future, and they're going to have to leave San Francisco. The parents said that they would have to leave the city if they can't get free education in Chinese because it's that important to them, and they didn't. That's sort of interesting. There's so many of them too. I don't know. It's just really interesting there, huh? And then speaking of the next thing here, so as you know, another one of my topics is health, and so this was the one. Aura Ring detected she had stage 4 cancer 8 months before her doctors did, and I'm sure there's a different person, but there were probably other tests as well. Blood tests, and the tests that her doctor could have taken. And because normally once you're at stage 4, you're going to have some things show up. But she went to experts, and even with her symptoms, they just couldn't find it. And so one day she took a vacation, went to Iceland, and went to the emergency room there, and because she couldn't fly back. And they found it right away. Maybe, there could be reasons why, the doctors don't want to tell you, or if they know it all, because these are experts, they should have known. I mean, it should have been pretty obvious, you would think. Maybe they just didn't want to tell her because, she's young and beautiful, and it's. I think I don't know if she had kids or something. I don't know, but she's a pediatrician, right? I don't know. There's some reasons, and that would be an interesting story of actually talking to those doctors, right, and saying what's going on, because it's not just because it happened to me. It's happened to so many people. It's very common for that to happen, and it's one of the reasons I said it's important to know if your doctor's really into you or not before, right? Because if you don't want to know, if they're going to take you seriously, because there's all kinds of issues, especially when you go back in history, like we're talking here, history, things in history. So you don't know why, but sometimes you just can't get a doctor. And so the thing is, definitely, if you've seen signs that are off, you're probably right, and your doctor's probably wrong. That's basically it. All right, so